I spent 4 years loving him while he spent 4 years loving her. He dropped to one knee at my graduation party. The diamond ring wasn't for me. It was for my cousin standing behind me. My parents gasped. The crowd fell silent. My diploma was still warm in my hands. I did the one thing no one expected. I smiled and simply walked away. Some say I disappeared. Others say I reinvented myself. What they don't know is that sometimes the quietest exit creates the loudest statement. This is how I turned betrayal into my greatest triumph. The May sunshine bathed the university quad in golden light as I adjusted my cap for the 100th time. 4 years of late nights, stress-induced crying sessions, and endless cups of coffee had culminated in this moment. I, Jordan Kamani, was finally graduating summa cum laude with a double major in international business and finance. "Jordan, over here!" My mother's voice cut through the crowd. She stood waving frantically. My father, beside her, looking uncomfortable in his rarely worn suit, but beaming with pride. There, standing next to them, was Travis. My Travis. Tall with those enticing eyes and that devilish smile that had made my heart skip since sophomore year. He held a bouquet of white peonies, my favorite. The sight of him made everything feel perfect. "You did it, brilliant girl," he whispered in my ear as he pulled me into a hug after the ceremony. "I'm so proud of you." His words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, and I nestled into his chest, inhaling the familiar scent of his cologne. What I didn't know then, that in less than 24 hours my entire world would shatter on the lakeside deck of my parents' house. How did we get here? 3 years ago, Travis had been just another face in my organic chemistry class. Then came my father's heart attack during midterms week. I'd been a mess trying to study through tears. In the library's quiet corner, Travis, a stranger then, sat down and simply asked, "What can I do to help?" He became everything. A study partner, shoulder to cry on, and eventually the man I thought I'd spend my life with. Weekend trips to the coast, family holiday dinners, plans whispered in the dark about our future home, careers, even children's names. It all felt so real, so certain. Earth to Jordan. Danielle snapped her fingers in front of my face, pulling me back to the present as we decorated for tonight's graduation party. My best friend since freshman year, Danielle, has always been the practical one between us. "Where'd you go just now?" "Sorry, I was just thinking about everything." I smiled, hanging another string of lights across my parents' deck. The lake behind their house sparkled in the afternoon sun, a perfect backdrop for a celebration. "About tonight's party, or about what you found in Travis's jacket pocket?" Danielle's eyebrow raised suggestively. "The small velvet box I discovered 3 days ago while doing laundry." Couldn't resist peeking just a glimpse of what appeared to be a diamond ring nestled in black velvet, before I quickly closed it, heart racing with excitement. "Don't jinx it," I laughed, but the butterflies in my stomach took flight again at the thought. The only cloud on my horizon was the unexpected return of my cousin, Cassidy. After 4 years of studying abroad in France, she showed up 2 months ago, all sophisticated, styled, and with European confidence. We'd been close as children but drifted apart in high school. Now she was staying with my parents temporarily, which meant she'd be at tonight's party. "Does it bother you that Travis and Cassidy have been spending so much time together?" Danielle asked, her voice carefully neutral as she arranged flowers in mason jars. I froze. "What do you mean?" Danielle shrugged. "I saw them having coffee together at Blackbird Cafe last week. Seemed pretty intense." "He's probably just being nice," I said, dismissing the comment even as something cold slithered through my chest. "You know how Travis becomes friends with everyone?" Still, I couldn't shake the memory of Travis's recent behavior. Checking his phone more frequently, becoming distant, frequently canceling our traditional Sunday brunches. I'd attribute it to work stress or graduation planning. My phone buzzed with a text from Travis. "Can't wait for tonight. I have something important to ask you." The butterflies returned stronger this time. By tomorrow, I'd have my diploma, and I was certain, a fiancé. Everything was falling into place exactly as I'd planned. I continued hanging lights for a party that would change my life in ways I couldn't imagine. I had no idea that my perfect illusion was about to come crashing down, or that its destruction would ultimately be my salvation. "You look stunning, honey," my mother said, zipping up my pale pink dress. The one Travis had once said brought out the rosiness in my cheeks. I'd chosen it deliberately for tonight. My graduation cap and gown hung neatly on my closet door, ready for photos. The diploma itself sat on my childhood desk, with its gold seal and ribbons. 4 years of hard work condensed into a single piece of paper. "Thanks, Mom," I replied, applying a final touch of lipstick. I studied my reflection, wondering if I looked different somehow, like a woman about to get engaged. My stomach fluttered with excitement and nerves. My phone lit up with a text from Danielle. "On my way, bringing extra champagne. We might need it." I smiled at her cryptic message. Just last week at lunch, she'd asked point blank if I trusted Travis completely. "Of course I do," I answered automatically. "Why wouldn't I?" Danielle had merely shrugged. "Just checking, that's all." I scrolled through recent photos of Travis and me looking for reassurance. There we were at his company's Christmas party with his arm around my waist. I was hiking Maple Ridge last fall, laughing as rain began to fall. The weekend trip to Chicago, where he'd introduced me to his grandparents, but there were gaps too. Weekends when he claimed to be on business trips, but returned without the usual souvenirs he'd bring me. Evenings when he was working late, but his coworker Mason mentioned not seeing him at the office. Little inconsistencies I'd brushed aside, not wanting to be that girlfriend who questioned everything. Jordan. My father knocked softly on my bedroom door. He entered looking handsome in his navy blazer, though his face carried an unusual tension. "Can we talk for a minute?" "Sure, Dad. Everything okay?" He sat on the edge of my bed, hands clasped between his knees. Since his heart attack, he'd become more reflective, less concerned with social appearances. "I just want to make sure you're happy, sweetheart. Really happy." "Of course I am," I said, confused by his serious tone. "I just graduated. The party's going to be amazing and—" I stopped myself before mentioning the ring with Travis. My father clarified, "Are you happy with Travis?" The question caught me off guard. "Yes, why are you asking?" My father hesitated. "I saw something the other day that concerned me. Travis was at Riverside Park with Cassidy. They seemed close." "They're friends," I said automatically, though something cold settled in my stomach. "Cassidy doesn't know many people since coming back from France." Dad nodded slowly. "Maybe. Just remember, you deserve someone who's certain about you. No hesitation, no divided attention." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a notification Travis had posted on Instagram. A quote about following your heart and true love finding its way. My thumb hovered over the like button when I noticed Cassidy had already commented with a simple heart emoji. I set my phone down, suddenly remembering a strange conversation from 3 weeks ago. I'd been clearing out old photos on our laptop when I found one I'd never seen before. Travis and a young woman on what looked like a high school football field. When I'd asked him about it, he snatched the laptop, claiming the woman was nobody important, and quickly deleted the photo. Looking back, the woman had Cassidy's distinctive dimples. "Your mother told me you found a ring," Dad said quietly. "Yes," I admitted. A new uncertainty crept into my voice. "Just be sure, Jordan. That's all I'm saying." Downstairs, the doorbell rang and guests were arriving. As I made my final preparations, my mother appeared in the doorway. "Can I tell you something I wish someone had told me at your age?" I nodded, applying perfume to my wrists. "Never confuse love with convenience," she said, "and never stay where you're not valued at your full worth." "Mom, Travis values me," I insisted, though my voice lacked conviction. "I hope so, sweetheart. I genuinely hope so." The party was in full swing when Travis finally arrived 40 minutes late. He kissed me briefly, distracted, his hair slightly damp as if he'd just showered. He wore the navy suit I'd helped him pick out last month, but his tie was one I'd never seen before. "Sorry I'm late. I had some things to take care of," he mumbled while accepting a glass of champagne from a passing server. From across the room, I spotted Cassidy entering through the patio doors. She wore a stunning floral dress. Her curly hair hung elegantly. Our eyes met briefly before she looked away. Finding Travis in the crowd, something passed between them. A look so quick I almost missed it. But I didn't miss how his hand trembled slightly on his champagne glass, or how Cassidy nervously adjusted her necklace, a delicate gold pendant I'd never seen her wear before. The string lights twinkled across our lakeside deck as dusk settled over the water. 50 of our closest friends and family mingled, raising glasses to toast my achievement. The graduation party was everything I'd envisioned. Elegant but relaxed. Joyful but intimate. Everything except for the growing knot in my stomach. Travis had barely looked at me all evening. He circulated through the crowd. Charming as ever, but maintained a careful distance from me. Twice I caught him checking his watch, and once I noticed him slip away to make a phone call. His voice was too low to hear. "Speech time," Danielle announced, clinking her glass with a spoon. "Let's hear from our brilliant graduate." All eyes turned to me as I stepped into the center of the formed circle. I smiled, pushing aside my concerns about Travis. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate with me." I began scanning the friendly faces. These past 4 years have been challenging, but incredibly rewarding. I couldn't have done it without the support of everyone here, especially my parents. My voice caught slightly as I met my father's concerned gaze. "Who has been my rock through everything?" The crowd applauded warmly. My mother wiped away a tear. "And of course, Travis," I continued, finding him at the edge of the gathering. "Who's been by my side through late-night study sessions, stress-induced meltdowns, and every triumph along the way?" Travis shifted uncomfortably, exchanging a quick glance with Cassidy, who stood near the refreshment table in her striking floral dress. My father stepped up next, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. "I've never been more proud than I am today," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Jordan, you've always been exceptional, not just in academics, but in your kindness, your determination, and your integrity. Whatever path you choose next, I know you'll walk it with grace." The guests raised their glasses. "To Jordan," they chorused. As people began to mingle again, Travis suddenly moved toward the center. My heart leaped. This was it. The moment I'd been anticipating for days. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" Travis's voice rang out uncharacteristically nervous. "I have something important I'd like to say." The crowd hushed. Danielle shot me an encouraging smile from across the deck. My mother reached for my father's hand. "I've been thinking about this moment for a long time." Travis continued, his eyes scanning the crowd, but somehow never quite landing on me. "About finding the courage to follow my heart, even when it's complicated." He moved from the center and began moving through the guests toward me, I thought, until he walked straight past where I stood. My breath caught as he stopped directly in front of Cassidy. "Some of you might not know this," Travis said, addressing the suddenly silent crowd. "But Cassidy and I have a history. We were high school sweethearts before life took us in different directions." The world seemed to tilt beneath my feet. High school sweethearts? He told me his only serious relationship before me had been with a girl named Jessica during his freshman year of college. "When Cassidy went to study in France, I thought I had to move on," he continued. "And I tried. I really did." His eyes flickered briefly to me. The first time he'd properly looked at me all evening. There was an apology, but something else too. Relief. "But when she came back 2 months ago, I realized some feelings never truly die. We've been trying to figure out how to handle this situation with respect for everyone involved." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father half rose from his seat, fury evident in his expression. And then, as if in slow motion, Travis dropped to one knee in front of Cassidy, pulling the small velvet box, the one I'd discovered from his pocket. "Cassidy Whitney, I've loved you since we were 17 years old. I tried to forget you, but I couldn't. I don't want to spend another day wondering what might have been. Will you marry me?" Cassidy's eyes widened, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, of course I will." The silence that followed was deafening. All eyes shifted from the embracing couple to me standing frozen with my champagne glass still in hand. My parents looked horrified. Danielle had already started moving toward me, determination in her stride. I felt strangely calm as a single thought crystallized in my mind. I deserved better than this. Looking directly at Travis and Cassidy, I raised my glass slightly. "Congratulations!" I said, my voice steady and clear in the silence. Then I smiled. Not a forced grimace, but a genuine smile of someone who now had no choice but to face the truth. With deliberate movements, I set down my glass, picked up my purse, and walked across the yard. The crowd parted silently before me. "Jordan, wait!" Travis called as if suddenly remembering I existed. I didn't stop, didn't turn back, didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing me break. I walked to my car, got in, and drove away from the party. Away from 3 years of lies, with my dignity intact and my future suddenly, unexpectedly wide open. Behind me, chaos erupted in my parents' backyard. But I was already gone. The highway stretched before me, empty as I drove without a destination. My phone buzzed relentlessly on the passenger seat. Calls from Danielle, my parents, even a few from Travis. Eventually, I silenced it and kept driving until the gas gauge warned me to stop. I pulled into a Marriott off the interstate some 40 miles from home. The front desk clerk gave me a curious look as I checked in with red eyes and still wearing my party dress. "Room 418, she said kindly. "There's a vending machine down the hall if you need anything. Please enjoy your stay at the Marriott." Alone in the room, I finally allowed myself to break. Sobs racked my body as I slid down against the door, hugging my knees to my chest. Not just for the relationship I'd lost, but for the fool I'd been. How many signs had I ignored? How many inconsistencies had I excused? The humiliation burned almost as much as the betrayal. Around 3 a.m., exhausted from crying, I took a scalding hot shower and changed into the hotel's complimentary robe. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, I finally checked my phone. 32 missed calls, 56 text messages, multiple voicemails from Danielle. "Where are you? Please tell me you're safe. I will murder him, I swear to God." From Mom. "Sweetheart, please come home. This isn't your shame to carry." From Dad. "Travis and Cassidy left. The house is clear. Come back when you're ready." From Travis. "Jordan, we need to talk. I never meant to hurt you. Please let me explain." I deleted his messages without reading the rest. What explanation could possibly matter now? The last text was from Dr. Lucas, my study abroad advisor. "Jordan, the Singapore position is still available if you've reconsidered. I need your decision by Friday. This opportunity won't come again." I stared at the message. A faint spark ignited something inside me. 5 weeks ago, I'd been offered a prestigious year-long finance entry-level position with United Global in Singapore. I declined it to stay with Travis, who claimed his career couldn't accommodate a long-distance relationship. Now, nothing was holding me back. Morning brought clarity with its harsh light. I couldn't go back to my apartment. Too many memories, too many shared possessions. I couldn't stay with my parents. Too many questions, too much sympathy. I needed a clean break. A complete reset. I called Dr. Lucas. "I'll take the position," I said. "Wonderful." She responded, surprised but pleased. "You'll need to move quickly. Orientation begins in 2 weeks." Next, I called Danielle, the only person I could face at this time. "Oh, thank God," she breathed when she heard my voice. "Are you okay? Where are you?" "I'm fine," I said. "I'm at a hotel. I need your help with something important, but you can't tell anyone." "Of course, anything," she promised. "Just name it." "I'm leaving the country. I need to get my important documents from the apartment when Travis is not there." Silence. "Are you sure?" "Completely." Danielle didn't try to talk me out of it. Instead, she confirmed Travis had gone to his parents' house after the disastrous party. "I'll meet you at your place in an hour. We'll get everything you need." The apartment felt like a museum of a life that no longer existed. Photos of Travis and me decorated the walls. His sweatshirts hung in the closet. Our shared coffee mug sat in the sink. With mechanical efficiency, I gathered my passport, birth certificate, and financial documents. I transferred my savings to a new account Travis couldn't access. I packed 2 suitcases with only essentials, practical clothes, a few cherished books, and my laptop. Everything else would have to go. "What about all this?" Danielle gestured around the apartment. "Sell what you can," I said, handing her my keys. "Donate the rest. Use the money to cover breaking the lease." "Are you sure about this?" Danielle asked, concern etched across her face. "What about your parents?" "I'll see them before I go," I promised. "But I can't stay here, Danielle. Not with everyone knowing what happened. Not with the pity and the gossip. I need to start fresh. Somewhere no one knows me as poor Jordan who got dumped at her graduation party." Danielle hugged me fiercely. "Promise you'll stay in touch." "I promise. I definitely will," I said. The meeting with my parents was harder. My mother cried. My father looked stoic but devastated. "I need a fresh start," I tried to explain. "This is an ideal opportunity, with impeccable timing." My father nodded slowly before disappearing into his study. He returned with an envelope. "Emergency funds," he said, gruffly pressing it into my hands. "And your grandmother's sapphire earrings. She always wanted you to have them. We raised you to be strong." My mother wiped her tears. I hugged them both, memorizing the feeling of home one last time. On my final night in the country, I deleted all my social media accounts, changed my email address, and got a new phone number. I needed a clean digital slate to match my physical one. As my flight took off, I watched the city shrink beneath me, feeling a strange mixture of grief and liberation. I was leaving everything familiar behind. All the lies, all the betrayal, all the shame that was forced upon me. Singapore awaited, miles away from Travis, Cassidy, and the life I no longer wanted. Singapore embraced me with its humid heat and gleaming skyscrapers from the moment I stepped off the plane. 2 years later, I barely recognized myself both literally and figuratively. "Jordan, these quarterly projections need your review before the team meeting," called Naomi, sliding a folder across our shared workspace. In United Global's 47th floor office, the floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Marina Bay, boats gliding across the water like tiny toys. I nodded, accepting the folder with a confident smile that would have been foreign on my face half a year ago. "I'll have them back to you by 3. The new version of Jordan has an entirely new identity. Gone was the short hair that Travis had loved to play in, replaced by a straightened bob with caramel highlights. Gone were the soft pastels and floral prints I'd once favored, exchanged for tailored blazers and bold colors that commanded attention in boardrooms. My phone buzzed with a message from Zara, my Pakistani-Singaporean neighbor, who had taken me under her wing since day one. "Night market plus drinks after work at 7 p.m. The team from Oslo is joining." I texted back immediately. "Absolutely." This was my life now. International colleagues who became friends, spontaneous outings in a city that never slept, and a career that was accelerating faster than I could have imagined. United Global had already promoted me from entry-level to senior analyst after I'd identified a pattern in the Southeast Asian market. Fluctuations that another team had overlooked. "That's quite impressive," my supervisor had commented during my performance review. "Where does that analytical instinct come from?" I smiled and answered truthfully. When you've had your entire reality dismantled in one evening, you get very good at spotting patterns and inconsistencies. My studio apartment in Tiong Bahru felt more like home now than any place I'd lived before. It was small but very modern, with a balcony overlooking the eclectic neighborhood, where traditional shops stood alongside contemporary buildings. I decorated it sparingly, no photos of family or friends, just local artwork and plants that thrived in the tropical climate. The only connection to my previous life sat in my nightstand. My father's envelope, now empty of cash but containing his handwritten note. "Remember who you are, even as you discover who you can become." I maintain contact with my parents through emails and monthly video calls. Danielle received weekly calls and postcards. "Hey, Jordan," said a deep voice, interrupting my thoughts. "You're analyzing those numbers so intensely they might catch fire." I looked up to find Kai Tanaka leaning against my desk, amusement dancing in his dark eyes, half Japanese, half Moroccan, with an architectural engineering degree from MIT. Kai had joined United Global's development team 3 months after I did. With his sharp intellect and quiet confidence, he'd quickly become both a challenging colleague and an unexpected friend. "Some of us are actually working, Tanaka," I replied with mock seriousness, fighting the smile tugging at my lips. "All work and no play makes Jordan a boring analyst," he countered. He dropped a small paper bag on my desk. "Bubble tea. The good one from the place you like." This has become our ritual. Small, thoughtful gestures with no expectations attached, different from Travis's grand romantic displays that in retrospect seemed more performative than genuine. "The Tokyo project team needs someone from finance to join next week's site visit," Kai said casually. "I might have suggested you were the perfect candidate." "You did what?" I stared at him conflicted. Tokyo had been on my bucket list for years, but traveling with Kai for a full week seemed dangerous. It had nothing to do with safety. "Relax," he laughed. "It's professional. Separate hotel rooms and everything. I just thought you might enjoy seeing the cherry blossoms while analyzing construction budgets." Before I could respond, my phone rang with a familiar ringtone. My mother's monthly call, right on schedule. "I need to take this," I said. Kai nodded. "Already moving away." "Think about Tokyo. Director Yang wants an answer by tomorrow." Kai yelled behind me. I answered the call. My mother's familiar face appeared on screen. "Sweetheart, you look wonderful." "Thanks, Mom," I said sheepishly. We chatted easily about neutral topics, her garden club, my vague mentions of exciting work projects. Then her expression grew more serious. "I thought you should know," she said carefully. Travis and Cassidy's engagement ended. Apparently she left him for her French professor who followed her back to the States. A burst of surprised laughter escaped me before I could stop it. That's poetic justice, I suppose. "Are you okay hearing about this?" Mom asked, studying my reaction. I truly don't care anymore. The mention of Travis's name no longer sent pain shooting through my chest. Information about him no longer affected my life. "I'm perfectly fine," I assured her, and meant it. That chapter is closed. After ending the call, I stared out at Singapore's glittering skyline, watching the sunset paint the clouds in vivid pinks and oranges. Tomorrow I will accept the Tokyo assignment. Tonight I will enjoy drinks with friends from 4 different countries. For the first time in weeks, I realized I hadn't thought about Travis until someone else mentioned his name. "Jordan, we're thrilled to have you delivering the keynote at this year's Pacific Finance Summit," the email read. I stared at the formal invitation, equal parts pride and disbelief. 2 years after fleeing to Singapore, I was returning to American soil not as broken-hearted Jordan, but as Jordan Kamani Rising Star at United Global and newly appointed head of emerging markets at just 24. "Congratulations, superstar," Kai said, reading over my shoulder in our shared Tokyo hotel room. The lines between colleagues and partners had blurred 6 months ago after a late night of work led to confessions and our first kiss. Now he handed me a glass of champagne, his eyes reflecting the neon lights. Accepting the champagne, I never expected to go back so soon. "Are you worried about running into people from your past?" Kai asked. He knew most of my story, told in fragments over late dinners and early mornings. The finance world is huge, I reasoned. What are the odds? The odds, as it turned out, were considerably higher than I calculated. 3 weeks later, I scrolled through the finalized conference attendee list in our Manhattan hotel room. My blood froze at a familiar name halfway down the page, Travis Sullivan, Associate Investment Director at Newman Partners. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered, my finger hovering over his name of all the finance firms in all the world he had to end up at Newman, one of United Global's primary American partners. Kai looked up from unpacking his suitcase. Problem? I turned my laptop toward him. His expression hardened as he read the name. We can get your presentation reassigned. He offered immediately. I'll talk to Sean. No, I said, surprising myself with my own resolve. I'm not hiding. I've worked too hard for this moment. Kai studied me carefully. Are you sure? Absolutely. I closed my laptop with finality. I'm not the same person he knew. I'm not running away this time. The Pacific Finance Summit opened with the expected networking, breakfasts, panel discussions, and corporate presentations. My keynote wasn't scheduled until the second day, giving me time to acclimate and prepare. I was reviewing my presentation notes in a quiet corner of the exhibition hall when I felt it, that distinct sensation of being watched. I looked up to see Travis, frozen 8 feet away. His expression was one of absolute shock. He looked different, thinner with new lines around his eyes and a more conservative haircut. The confident swagger I remembered had been replaced by a more measured posture. For a moment, neither of us moved. The bustling conference continued around us, oblivious to our private drama unfolding. I made the first move, closing my laptop and standing. Power dynamics were everything in moments like this, and I refused to remain seated while he towered over me. Hello, Travis, I said. My voice was calm and professional. No trace of the heartbroken girl who had driven away from her graduation party 2 years ago. Jordan, he managed, still staring as if seeing a ghost. Is it really you? I extended my hand formally to shake his hand, as though meeting a new business contact. I see you're with Newman Partners these days. He shook my hand automatically. His grip loosened. No one knew where you'd gone. Your parents wouldn't say anything. Danielle claimed she didn't know. I needed a fresh start, I said simply. You look... He gestured vaguely, struggling to process my transformation. Different, successful. I am. No false modesty, no diminishing my achievements. I'm giving tomorrow's keynote on emerging markets in Southeast Asia. His eyebrows shot up. The keynote? That's impressive. An awkward silence stretched between us. He cleared his throat. Jordan, I need to apologize for what happened. It was unforgivable. The way things went down, I've regretted it every day since. Have you? I asked with genuine curiosity. Cassidy left me, he said, a hint of bitterness creeping into his voice. 4 months after the proposal. Turned out her professor from France had followed her back to the States. They're married now, living in Montreal. I nodded, feeling nothing but a distant empathy for his pain. I heard. From who? He asked, surprised. I have my sources, I replied with a slight smile. I'm sorry things didn't work out the way you planned. Everything fell apart after you left, he continued, a note of self-pity in his voice. My family was furious with me. Your father threatened to ruin my career. I lost friends and respect. I cut him off. Travis, that wasn't because I left. It was because of the choices you made. He flinched, then nodded slowly. You're right. You're so right. He looked at me with sad eyes. You've really changed for the better. She sure did. Came a deep voice from behind me. Kai appeared at my side, placing a protective hand on the small of my back. His timing was impeccable as always. Kai Tanaka. He introduced himself to Travis with a firm handshake. United Global Development. Travis's eyes darted between us, understanding dawning on his face. You two are together? I confirmed. Going on 10 months now? Coffee? Travis blurted suddenly. Could we maybe grab coffee tomorrow, just to talk? I have so many things I need to say. I hesitated, looking at Kai, who gave me a subtle nod indicating his support. Okay, I agreed. After my keynote, there's a cafe across the street from the convention center. As we walked away, Kai squeezed my hand. You okay? Yes, I actually am. The applause following my keynote speech was still ringing in my ears. I crossed the street to Cafe Perk. My presentation on emerging Asian markets had been met with enthusiasm and thoughtful questions, a professional triumph that reminded me how far I'd come. Travis was already there sitting at a table with 2 coffees, always the strategist making sure he appeared thoughtful and prepared. I wondered if the second cup was prepared the way I used to take my coffee, or if he'd forgotten that detail too. "That was impressive," he said, standing as I approached. "You commanded that room like you were born for it." "Thank you," I replied, taking a seat and noticing with mild amusement that he had indeed remembered my coffee preference, almond milk and 4 sugars. I immediately got straight to the point. "I doubt you came to discuss my presentation skills." Travis fidgeted with his watch. "I don't know where to start," he admitted. "For 2 years I've rehearsed what I'd say if I ever saw you again, and now my mind is blank." "Why don't you start with the truth?" I suggested. "No performance, no calculated moves, just honesty." He took a deep breath. "The truth is, I was with Cassidy before I met you. We were high school sweethearts. Like I said at the party, when she left for France, we tried long distance, but it fell apart. I was heartbroken." I nodded, encouraging him to continue while keeping my expression neutral. "Then I met you in chemistry class. You were brilliant, beautiful, focused. So different from Cassidy. When your dad got sick and I saw how vulnerable you were, I felt needed. Important." His voice grew softer. "I genuinely fell for you, Jordan. That wasn't fake." "But it wasn't enough," I observed. "When Cassidy came back, it was like being hit by lightning. All those old feelings rushed back. We ran into each other accidentally at first. Then we started meeting secretly. I told myself it was just closure, just friendship. But deep down I knew why." "Why not break up with me?" Honestly, I asked myself that question. It haunted me for years. "Why the public humiliation?" Travis's face flushed with shame. It sounds horrible to say aloud, but I was a coward. I kept postponing the breakup, telling myself I'd do it after your finals, then after graduation. But then Cassidy gave me an ultimatum. Make a grand gesture to prove I was serious, or she'd leave again. "So you chose my graduation party?" I asked. The pieces finally clicked into place. "My celebration became your stage." He nodded. "I convinced myself it would be romantic, that somehow proposing to Cassidy at that moment made poetic sense. I was so caught up in my own narrative. I didn't fully consider what it would do to you." He looked up, finally meeting my eyes. "I've never regretted anything more." A strange calm settled over me as I realized this confession brought no fresh pain, just clarity. "I tried to find you for months," he admitted. "I called everyone we knew. I hired a private investigator who hit nothing but dead ends. Your parents refused to speak to me. Danielle told me to go to hell. When Cassidy left," Travis continued, "it was like waking from a fever dream. I suddenly saw what I destroyed. Not just our relationship, but your trust. I broke something precious for a fantasy that disintegrated in weeks." I asked, genuinely curious. "What do you want from this conversation?" "Forgiveness," he said. "Though I know I don't deserve it." He hesitated. "I wondered if there's any chance we could." I raised my hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "That door is permanently closed." "I understand," he said, though disappointment flashed across his face. "I thought, seeing you again, after all this time." "Let me be very clear," I said gently but firmly. "What happened was painful, yes, but it set me free in ways I couldn't imagine. If you hadn't betrayed me, I might never have found the courage to leave, to rebuild, to discover what I'm truly capable of." I gestured toward the window where the New York skyline stretched. "Look at my life now. I've traveled the world. I've built a career I'm proud of. I found someone who loves me without drama or games." I leaned forward slightly. "Your betrayal didn't break me. It became the foundation for something better." Travis's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I'm glad," he said hoarsely. "You deserved better than what I gave you." "Yes, I did," I agreed. The cafe door opened and Kai entered right on schedule. We agreed he would join us after 30 minutes, not because I needed rescuing, but because we had dinner reservations across town. Travis watched him approach, resignation settling across his features. He seems like a good man. The best, I confirmed. Gathering my purse, Kai reached our table. He sees me clearly. No illusions, no idealization. Just honest love and respect. The way it should be, Travis said quietly. I stood, ready to leave. I forgive you, Travis, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. Not for your sake, but for mine. I don't want to carry that weight anymore. Relief washed over his face. Thank you, he whispered. Kai and I walked away. I felt Travis's eyes follow us to the door. I didn't look back. There was no need. My future was ahead of me, bright with possibilities. 1 year later, I stood before a full-length mirror in a suite overlooking Singapore's gardens by the bay, hardly recognizing the woman reflected back at me. My wedding dress was nothing like I'd imagined in my younger days. No princess ball gown or delicate lace. Instead, I'd chosen a sleek-fitted ivory silk dress. You look stunning, my mother said, adjusting the simple gold hairpin adorning my upswept hair. She arrived a week ago with my father, both of them beaming with pride and curiosity about the life I'd built here. Are you nervous? Danielle asked, handing me a glass of champagne. She was my maid of honor, flying her in from Chicago, where she recently started medical school. No, I replied truthfully. With Kai, everything feels certain. Our relationship had unfolded naturally without the grand gestures or dramatic declarations. Kai's proposal had been simple. A quiet question asked while we watched the sunrise from our bedroom balcony. No audience needed for a moment that belonged only to us. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. Everyone decent? Came my father's voice. Come in, Dad, I called. He entered looking handsome and slightly uncomfortable in his formal suit. There's someone here to see you, he said hesitantly. I told her it wasn't appropriate, but she insisted, saying it's important. Before I could ask who, the door opened wider to reveal Cassidy. My blood froze. I hadn't seen my cousin since that disastrous graduation party. Hadn't spoken her name except in therapy sessions where I worked to release the anger that once consumed me. She looked different from her previously confident posture. Now uncertain, her designer outfit was replaced by a simple navy dress. 5 minutes, please, she pleaded again. Please. Danielle moved protectively to my side, but I touched her arm gently. It's okay, I assured her. Give us a moment. The room cleared reluctantly, leaving Cassidy and me in a silence. You look beautiful, she said finally. Genuinely happy. I am, I confirmed. What are you doing here, Cassidy? She clasped and unclasped her hands nervously. I came to apologize. It's long overdue. I said nothing. What I did to you was unforgivable, she continued, her voice catching. There's no excuse that justifies it, but I want you to know I've spent years regretting the pain I caused. Why? I asked simply. We were family. I never did anything to hurt you. That was part of the problem, she admitted, sinking into a nearby chair. You were always the golden one. Brilliant, beautiful, beloved. Growing up in your shadow, I felt invisible. She shook her head. It's not a justification, just context for my terrible choices. Travis was a mistake. A sad smile crossed her lips. The professor left me 6 months after we married. A career opportunity in Paris. Apparently, I was expendable. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of sympathy. I'm sorry to hear that. Karma, I suppose, she said with a hollow laugh. I've been trying to rebuild my life since then. Started therapy. Reconnected with your parents who were kinder than I deserved. They're good people, I acknowledged. The best, she agreed. They told me about your wedding. I'm in Singapore visiting a friend. I know I have no right to be here. I won't stay for the ceremony. I just needed to tell you face to face that I'm sorry and that I'm genuinely happy you found someone worthy of you. I studied her, searching for manipulation or hidden agenda, but found only genuine regret. The anger I'd once had has long since faded, replaced by the peace that comes with true healing. Thank you for the apology, I said finally. I appreciate you making it in person. She was surprised by my response that held no anger, no resentment. Cassidy had tears gathering in her eyes. I'll go now. Congratulations, Jordan. After she left, my bridal party returned with concern etched on their faces. I'm fine, I assured them. An hour later, I walked down the aisle in Singapore's Botanic Gardens. Elegant pavilions surrounded by orchids and the soft glow of sunset. Kai waited beneath an arch of tropical flowers. His face lit up as our eyes met. My father squeezed my arm gently before placing my hand in Kai's. Today, I choose you, I said during our vows. Kai's eyes shimmered as he responded with his own promises spoken in both Arabic and Japanese, honoring the multicultural life we were building together. We shared our first kiss as husband and wife. Applause erupted from our intimate gathering of family and friends. I turned to Kai, to our future, to the life we would build together.